Welcome to the Lemuria Report. People are waking up to the scam that is banking. The governments of the world were only ever the trustees of the people's wealth. That is why it is called the Commonwealth. Because the land and the resources are all owned by the people. Not the governments. Not the corporations. Not the banks. Let us now take a look at how we play the bankers at their own game. Let us not forget here that bankers have not been able to achieve this piracy alone. They have accomplices. The two main accomplices of the banking pirates are politicians and lawyers. Or to be precise, the law society. Pirates have been legalized since the days of royalty commissioning privateers to rape, pillage and plunder. Not much has changed in the way these groups operate since the days of monarchy feudalism. In the modern system, politicians pass legislative instruments that allow for the fractional reserve currency system. Politicians are a bit like the privateers of old, without the rape and an overdose of pillage and plunder. The politician pirates will always protect the banking pirates because this fractional reserve system we currently use allows them to have deficit spending. They would not be able to promise free healthcare, and free education, and free money when there is a pandemic. In reality, there is no free ride. All their promises of free things are paid for by loans from the bankers with you the taxpayer as surety. Only members of the law society are permitted to write legislation, and only members of the law society are permitted to practice in a court of law. Without the politicians and law society, the bankers would not be able to create currency in the way they do. From nothing. There is one thing we can take from this legislation that will work to our advantage. In law there always has to be a remedy. Always. So let us find our remedy in law. You have come for the truth. The whole truth. And nothing but the truth. We would ask that you take the time to like and share this video. To beat these pirates, we need the people of the world to have knowledge and understanding. The only way to beat the bankers is to come together with a united front. Also, if you would like to help us continue in this work, we have provided a Patreon link in the description below. We thank you in advance. Now see the promissory note that we have been covering. If you have not seen the first two parts, then please make sure you understand the steps required covered in parts 1 and 2. In Section 85 of Bills of Exchange Act 1908. Delivery necessary. A promissory note is incomplete until delivery thereof to the payee or bearer. We will cover who it's delivered to later. Now see in our example Section 87 of Bills of Exchange Act 1908. Note payable on demand. Where a note payable on demand is endorsed, it must be presented for payment within a reasonable time of the endorsement. If it is not so presented, the endorser is discharged. This really needs no further explanation. No presentment. No demand in a reasonable time. Then discharged. By adding a quantifiable date and time on the face of our promissory note. Within the terms and conditions. We are able to make use of this section of the Bills of Exchange Act 1908. You can see here in our example that the wording is the payment will be made in monthly installments. On the 7th day of every consecutive month. Now we will build further protection into the body of our promissory note. First, let us look at our example, the Bills of Exchange Act 1908. Section 80. Presentment for payment. Where a promissory note is in the body of it made payable at a particular place, it must be presented for payment at that place in order to render the maker liable. But in any other case, presentment for payment is not necessary in order to render the maker liable. Presentment for payment is necessary in order to render the endorser of a note liable. You can see here in our example that the wording is the payment can be obtained by the holder at. Insert appropriate address. By adding an address on the face of our promissory note. Within the terms and conditions. We are able to make use of this section of the Bills of Exchange Act 1908. Thereby making the holder present the promissory note at the specified address to render the maker liable. It is important to understand here that the acceptance of this promissory note by the holder means any terms agreed to before are now altered to include those printed on the face of the note. The bankers are required to now present the original note, at a specified date, at a specified place to render the maker liable. Remember, you have no obligation to run after the banking pirates. The maker is only liable when these conditions are met. The banking pirates will try and distract you from this fact with threats to destroy your credit rating. It is important to stand fast on these truths. Remember, this is our remedy in law, from those pirates who have said they will loan you something when they have nothing to loan. The last part of the terms gives permission to the holder or the holder in due course to use the note as a negotiable instrument to be traded on, whereas such trade shall terminate the obligation herein. As stated previously, documents of this type are bundled together and traded on the open market, sometimes called special purpose vehicles. How this process works is beyond the scope of this video. The point here is the bank can sell the document for its face value, plus interest, to a so-called investor. If this happens, the banking pirates are paid immediately for a loan where nothing was loaned. Now we place this note into an envelope and we send it to the chief financial officer of said bank or institution. And we make sure we have the ability to meet the obligation set out in our made promissory note. You may choose to write to the bank if they don't present the note, reminding them of the terms they have agreed to and the failure to present. It would be prudent here to give them a chance to present the note within a quantifiable period of time. Notify the banking pirates that if this is not met, then we shall consider the obligation discharged, as per our example in Bill of Exchange Act 1908. As per our remedy in law. You may also choose to ask them if they are still in possession of the original note or if they have traded the promissory note on the open market. We doubt they will want to answer this question. But who knows what answer you might receive. You could also ask them if the bank's books balanced on the day said loan was issued. They really won't want to answer this question. No matter. Keep asking. Every time the banking pirates try to make a demand of you, remind them of the terms of the promissory note and ask them the suggested questions. You may have other questions you want the banking pirates to answer. No matter how much they try to distract you with threats, keep bringing them back to these points. Let us now look at Section 98 of Bill of Exchange Act 1908. Saving. The rules of common law, including the law merchant, save in so far as they are inconsistent with the express provisions of this Act, shall continue to apply to bills of exchange, promissory notes, and checks. The common law is your saving. Not legislative instruments. Not acts of parliament. Not statutes. We would ask that you take the time to like and share this video. To beat these pirates, we need the people of the world to have knowledge and understanding. The only way to beat the bankers is to come together with a united front. Also, if you would like to help us continue in this work, we have provided a Patreon link in the description below. We thank you in advance. Welcome to the Lemuria Report. You have come for the truth. The whole truth. And nothing but the truth.